Welcome in to Bears Weekly, powered by IGS Energy, a Chicago Bears network production. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
It's a Bears-Steelers Sunday at Soldier, and this has the makings of a rugged, slug-it-out physical affair. We discussed tonight on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Chicago Bears Radio Network with Super Bowl-winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up, a conversation with third-year defensive tackle Gervon Dexter Sr. It's Coordinator Thursday. We've got Eric Bieniemy. We've got Caleb Williams. We've got a lot. Dan Briley, Jordan Treadup, and Katie Fox, our producers, along with Kendra Smith in the ESPN studios. And the executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Tom, am I assuming it's going to be a physical brawl, or could it be a fireworks show?
You know, this is a benchmark game. You know, with the reputation that the Steelers have, don't play them very often. They're in the AFC, you're in the NFC, but they're always either a Super Bowl contender or a playoff team. And so if you can go out there and you can go toe-to-toe with these guys from start to finish, it really tells you a lot about where you're at and where you're going.
Injury report today, all three starting linebackers, Tom, with T.J. Edwards still working his way back, but Tremaine Edmonds and Noah Sewell did not practice here on Thursday.
I saw that. It's super unfortunate, but you go back and you look at every injury report to every team in the NFL, and they have somebody that's going to come up as one of those, you know, kind of highlighted injuries, and we'll see where it gets to by Sunday.
Aaron Rodgers got out there, limited, with a brace.
On his left wrist. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, if he can play, he will play. And we've seen that before out of a lot of quarterbacks in NFL history, that when you count them out, they're in. But I think he'll have to make some adjustments according to taking a snap from under center, or just the way he hands off the ball to different sides of the offense.
Or just stay in the shotgun or be in the pistol formation. Caleb Williams at the podium this week on what's at stake moving forward.
It's us understanding where we're at, understanding where we can be, and focusing on, where we are at this moment. Ben said something to me, and then said it to the team recently. Is one of his old mentors. He said, you don't, and this is speaking on quarterback terms, I don't know if you can go 25 for 25, but I do know that you can go 1 for 1, each and every single time, 25 times. And so just focusing on where we're at, and focusing on being 1-1. And that's me saying 100%, but that's 1-0 this week. And we focus on that. We go 1-0 each week. We'll be exactly where we want to be.
And you talked last week about the pressure in late game situations and how that raises your game, because there's just no other option than it has to be right.
Yep.
Do you feel like it'll be that this might be a situation like that too, big picture, where the stakes are so high, the pressure is on, that it will kind of have that same effect with you?
I don't ever flip into this is a higher stake game than the other. That's never you start falling into that trap, and you start looking at records, or you start looking at where teams are, where other teams are, and where we're at, and you start comparing and doing all these different things, and so then you start getting distracted with where you want to go and where you want to be as a team and as an organization. And I've learned that being here, but also a little bit earlier in my career in college and things like that. And so just solely focus on being 1-0 this week, and not adding or or subtracting any pressure from any game, because there's only 17 that we're promised, and each and every game means the world for that week.
Ben said the other day about the 50-50 balls. It's something he's not super keen on. Yeah. But with deep shots, how does that change your approach and how you deliver those deep shots?
I'm not a 50-50 guy either. That's never been my thing. You don't want to give the defenders or anybody that type of percentage. You work your tail off. You do all these different things to try and hit and gel and mesh at the right time, at the right play. And that starts with O-line, and it starts with me delivering a good ball, play actions, or the receivers running a good route and making it more of a higher percentage. But 50-50 balls are not that they've never been kind of my thing, unless obviously it's fourth down or whatever desperation time. But other than that, we work on higher percentages. That's why we got the coaches we got the players we drafted and got, and all these different things to be able to make these plays not 50-50 chances and instead make them high percentage in our favor.
Do you have to guard against, just in terms of, I know you've said you want to win this team a Super Bowl. You have to get to the playoffs first. Just knowing where this team is right now, 7-3, first in the NFC North. Do you have to guard against thinking, hey, that's within reach, but it's still like 6 potential weeks away? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I've gone through one season so far, so I've definitely not fully a vet or anything with this whole process. But I've gone through a season where we started off pretty well. And just understanding that it's a long season, a lot can happen, and I've kind of been in those shoes of what you're kind of talking about, and looking forward, and just making sure that myself that I stay away from the social media. I don't focus on any of that, and I stay present with where I'm at, and make sure I stay on my routine. Make sure I lead these guys. They feel my leadership. They feel my determination to go and win, and become 1-0 each and every week that we play. And it starts with this week.
I appreciate the fact that he acknowledges there's a long way to go. And as a young quarterback and a young player, you get excited about a winning season, but he seems to have everything in the proper frame.
Yeah. Well, I like that he's not caught up in big games. He doesn't throw 50-50 balls, and it's about going 1-0. And so all the things that he says up at the podium, they resonate with me. But, I think it sends an important message to the team, the league, the fans, and the locker room.
And offensive line coach Dan Roshar available with the other offensive assistants today, acknowledging what is a very talented front seven for the Steelers. Listen into that.
They have outstanding pass rushers on the edge. And you have guys inside that have the ability to win one-on-one pass rushes, and they can collapse the pocket, and they defend the run well. So when you look at the front five, if you will, it's going to be a heck of a challenge for us, and we recognize that, and I think the guys will be up for it.
How far do you think this offensive line is growing through 10+ weeks?
They're a very close group. You got to give a lot of credit to Kyle and Zach and those guys, how they're working and what they're doing. And, it's not perfect, but there is improvement on a pretty regular basis. And so that's encouraging. We've got a long ways yet to go.
And where do you think that closeness pays off when you're playing against that?
Well, I think it brings a high level of accountability from player to player to player in his readiness, in the preparation that he puts in. You look at Darnell's had a lot of growth, in my opinion, this year as a player. And a lot of that's a credit to how he's worked and what he's trying to do to improve the game. But the other part of it is you have Drew and you have Jonah and you have Joe and you have these guys that have played that they're working their tails off to get ready every week with assignment, how they want to execute a particular block. And I think it's brought a lot of growth to him. So those guys, it brings the group together.
Finish with Darnell Wright, Tom, and Darnell's played some very good football. I think he's this is a teacher that's proud of his pupil.
Yeah. You know why? Sometimes I think about why is Darnell Wright playing so well? And Dan brought it up in his conversation that this is a close group of guys. And I think that closeness it makes you play harder, makes you want to play harder, makes you want to answer the bell every day. And so there's no more important group in the NFL to be close than the offensive line.
It sure is. That's why you and I are tight, Tom.
Right, because you're built like a guard, but you play like a center.
Right. All right, coming up next, Gervon Dexter joins us. This is ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly on the Bears Radio Network. Here's your host, the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy. Tom and Jeff here on Bears Weekly. I'll tell you, a player who's worked hard the last 2 off seasons to gain strength and size. It's Gervon Dexter. He is our player profile on our Game Day Live show on Fox. You'll see Sunday as the Bears get ready to meet the Pittsburgh Steelers. I asked him if he's starting to feel that change impact his Sundays.
I mean, I would say so. Yeah, this year I probably feel like I play a little stronger. Able to, hold some of those double teams and run blocks a lot better. So, yeah.
Are you drawing more double teams this year or about the same?
I don't know what's the exact numbers. It could be more. It could be, the same. But I think I feel the difference on how I'm playing them.
Yeah? How do you play them?
You know what I mean? Strain, fight, you strike. We're striking D-line, so we strike first and try to get those two guys on two different levels, and you know what I mean? You hold the point.
Is that a badge of honor when you beat a double team?
I think so, yeah. It's 2 versus 1, so you know what I mean? Beat one of those guys, beat both of those guys as always.
I did a quick look on Pro Football Focus. Obviously, much of your stuff is inside, but do you want that versatility that Dennis Allen and Jeremy Garrett have you doing?
Yeah, I definitely think I'm a versatile player. I think some of that is, you know what I mean, when my number is being called, if, you know what I mean, we got a guy down or something like that. I'm able to play, you know what I mean, in multiple different positions. So it's good. And I think I've learned a lot about myself being able to do that stuff as well.
And give me an example of what you've learned.
Like, for example, if I'm at the end, it's a lot different than when you're at the nose, or it's obviously the nose. When you're at the nose, it's a lot less space, and it kind of trickles down from the 3 to all the way to the outside. So I've learned how to play those different blocks at different positions.
Can you unleash some moves on the outside that you wouldn't ordinarily do on the inside because you have a little more space and time?
I mean, not necessarily, not me. I think it's all the same. I think if you're outside shade on a tackle or outside shade over 3, it's all the same. So outside shades are outside shades, inside are inside. So.
Raw power is not enough. Footwork and hands make a big difference. How do you feel you've used and unlocked your hands over the years?
That's probably one of my biggest steps that I've took this year, is playing with my hands better, playing with my eyes in my hands, and being able to strike with my hands a lot better. So hand placement is one of the biggest things on, you know what I mean, how you play a run block and the passing game as well. But huge improvement on my hands this year.
Take me in the trenches, because what are you looking at? That's what I want to know. You get into your stance and you're ready to go and you're making sure you don't jump off sides or what are you looking at?
So I'm keying the man. I'm keying my man. I'm keying the tip of his, you know what I mean, tip of his pad.
Tip of the pad.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for him to make a move so I can strike him.
Does it reveal a lot, or can they hide the tip of the pad a little bit?
I don't think so. I mean, just because, you know what I mean, they are bigger guys, so they, you know what I mean, they move first. If they're going that way, they're going to move that way. So I don't think so.
Okay, so that's a veteran experience now, yeah. Right? That you could pick these things up. You probably didn't even do that as 100%. A rookie. Yeah. Tell me more about Jeremy Garrett and how that's going this year.
Yeah, so like I was just telling you, that was one of the guys who, you know what I mean, helped me get my hands right. Told me, okay, where should you be looking at? Where should you be keying so you can know you can strike, alignment? All of those things is all came from him, honestly. So he's been a huge help in my career this far, and just he is never ending improvement with him. So every time he's, okay, after you fix this, you got your hands right, all right, let's work on the feet. You got your feet right, let's work on this. So it's always something different, and it's always something for me to get better.
So before the season, and we're at the midway point now, you made a statement, time to put it all together. Now that you look back at least the first half and where you're headed in the second half, you individually first, do you feel you're starting to put it all together? And what does that look like for Javon Dexter Sr.?
I do. I think as a player, you know what I mean, sometimes guys get labeled, oh, he's very good in the run, or he's a very good pass rusher. I think myself is I'm able to do both at this point in my career, and I'm still getting better, obviously. But, yeah, I think it's the pieces are coming together, and I think I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, I notate stuffs, and you're getting more stuffs than you ever have. You know, how about batted balls? Is that something you work on?
Yeah.
Because you got all this length, man.
Right. I think I definitely need more batted balls. Get my hands up. Sometimes at the top of the rush, I'm thinking more, let's hit the quarterback, obviously over the batted ball. But tip passes lead to interceptions. So, and there's been several times where I may not have tipped it, but I'm in the quarterback's, you know what I mean, view with the length that I have, and it's caused either interception or incomplete pass. So,
as analysts, we should notate that. Like, when you're rushing somebody or any of the guys up front, what happens after that rush is over? Is it? Yeah.
Right.
You know, that should be a stat.
It definitely should be.
Because you should get credit for that for sure. I'm sure your coaches notate
Yeah, they
stuff
do.
And
Yeah,
they
know
let
for
you know.
sure.
Do you know how many you've had that, like, impacted that? Do you know?
I know there's a couple for sure. I know, for example, when we played against Dallas, I had a pretty good rush and was able to get a little pressure and my hands up in front of the quarterback, and Tremaine was able to make a big play.
You guys played in Baltimore line. I notated 29. You had a career high, 5 solos and 7 combined. That matched your career high as well. Obviously, Derrick Henry's a big part of that, but that's extraordinary production for tackles from a defensive line. Is that maintainable?
That's definitely maintainable. That's the standard for us. Obviously, we worked at it all week. We want to strike blocks and get off blocks and make plays. And so that's definitely the standard for us.
Time to stop talking and start doing. Why did you say that? Or is there a deeper meaning to it?
I believe I posted that tweet. That was, it was preseason was done.
Okay.
It's a lot of talk during the offseason, what, guys are going to do and should have do and all the stuff like that. So, at that point, it was time to, get to work.
I was asked to pick the top 10 impact Bears that I anticipated before the season, and I had you near the top of the list because you got all the tools in the shed to be a dominant interior defensive lineman. Do you feel that you're starting to emerge in that regard on this football team and for your future?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Not only just on this team, but I feel like I'm coming close to just being one of the best D tackles in the entire league, and that's just like I said, that's my standard as well, and that's who I want to be. That's who I'm going to be, and I'm starting to get there. And you have to have, year after year to do that. I'm still young in my career, but as far as, this year and statistic-wise and stuff like that, I think I match up pretty well with some of those guys.
All right, just a couple things on the rest of the fellas. How you guys coming together? Because we often say about the offensive line, 5 block is 1, but 4 rush is 1, too, on the other side of the ball. Are you guys starting to really feel each other? I know there's been a lot of injuries on this team, and Grady's back, and 5-man lines and all that. I love that.
Right.
How do you feel you guys are meshing?
I think we're meshing well. I think with now Grady being back, he's the he's the vocal guy. He sets the point and tell us what we got to do and stuff like that. And then just having guys who can rush all at one and rush together well.
Is there a night you guys all go to dinner, for example, the guys on the defensive line? Or you guys hang out?
Yeah, we hang out pretty often. I think we don't always go to dinner, but we might do like Thursday night football at one of the guys' house and kick it in and talk about the game and stuff like that.
What are you bringing?
Like, what am I bringing?
Yeah, you bringing anything?
I'm just bringing myself, to be honest with you, man. Yeah,
no hors d'oeuvres, no,
No, I'm bringing vibes, bro.
Bringing vibe. Do you feel you got a vibe?
Yeah.
What does that look like? What is Gervon Dexter Sr.'s vibe?
I'm just vibe, man. I'm just chill. You know what I mean? I'm a good guy to hang around. You know what I mean? And just bringing the vibes.
All right. I like it. I like the vibes. We'll let you go. Appreciate it, 99. Good luck the rest of the season.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. 1 sack for matching his career high. Tom set last season in 15 games. He's got 4 through 10. He's matched his career high in tackles for loss. He had a 7-tackle game and 5 solos against the Ravens. Couple of stuff runs this year after only having a half in his first couple seasons. What's your analysis of Javon Dexter Sr. this year?
I want him to play better. I think he has that type of talent. I think he's got versatility built into his frame and his size and his athleticism. And I'm glad he talked about playing with his eyes and his hands, because I think one thing about being a defensive lineman with those type of assets, you have to be able to control an offensive lineman when you make initial contact with them, but you also have to play with your eyes. And so I like that as preach points to Gervon Dexter Sr. as his career winds on. I want more for him. I want better for him because I know he's capable of it.
All right, coming up next, running back coach Eric Bieniemy. That's next on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is ESPN Chicago, WNVP, WTBC, HD2 Chicago, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
Bears.
It is good!
Bears Weekly.
Time expires!
A deep dive into all things Bears.
And the Bears win!
With Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer, this is the home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Bears have the number 2 rushing offense in the NFL, number 2 in play action pass as well at 32.5%. They'll be taking on a Pittsburgh team that's ranked 6th in blitz percentage. And the Bears hope to take advantage of a Steelers run defense that is still trying to find its way at 29th against outside runs. And the Bears certainly want to establish that run. And the guy who's coaching those running backs is the veteran coach and former NFL running back, Eric Bieniemy.
You know what? It's a week-to-week deal, so it feels like it's Thursday.
Okay.
Now I say this: our guys have done a great job of competing. We're finding ways to win, but we still know we got some things that we need to clean up and work on. That's the fun part, you know what I mean? But On top of that, we're right where we need to be, at this point in time in the season, and we'll continue to work to get working to get better.
Like a player this week said, everything's ahead of us. Is that a good way to look at it?
It is a positive way to look at it. And, we just got to make sure that we're taking it one day at a time. But on top of that, we got to continue to work to get better, because there are some moments in which we can take advantage of that we're not necessarily doing it, but that's why as coaches we get paid to coach, those guys get paid to play. We got to make sure we're coaching up all the details and making sure that we're getting that execution. That's what's expected.
While it may be rare here in how the Bears have won games, you've had a long career from the time you were in high school all the way to where you're at right now. Have you ever had a season with this much dramatic finishes at the end that you recall? And what was it like for you as a player versus a coach?
As a player.
Is that beard gray because of this year?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's gray for a lot of reasons. But you know what? I'll say this. Some of the best teams that you ever been a part of are the teams that find a way to win. And yes, I'm great for a number of reasons. We had a couple of those seasons out in Kansas City and a couple of those seasons out with the Minnesota Vikings as well.
Yeah, okay.
The good thing is just watching these guys grow and watching them grow together and playing for one another and understanding just how important each and every moment is, especially throughout the course of a 60-minute game. You never know which play will by far be the most important one. And so that's been a fun outcome in watching how guys are handling those situations and making the very most of them.
In concert with your running backs, the offensive line, it's a symphony right now. At times, things are like, sometimes, I can't say perfect because it's never perfect, but all the movement and the blocks that are being made, if you did a still shot of some, it'd be a beautiful portrait. Do you feel that is really starting to percolate?
You know what? It's starting to percolate, but I'll say this. We still have some little things that we need to clean up. Just like you said, it's never perfect, but when it's on, it's been pretty damn good. The thing is just making sure that we're putting consistent behavior on tape. And the thing that I would like to say, yes, you would like to see that pretty portrait every week, but that's not going to be the case. Sometimes you got to hammer away at it. Sometimes it's ugly because sometimes when you're trying to, break a stone, you gotta continue to chip at it and chip at it and chip at it until basically you beat it to a pulp. Now you can actually have that opportunity to get exactly what you want. But our guys, they're working at it, taking the necessary steps.
Steelers have been known for decades of living in the backfield and forcing turnovers. What is your messaging this week for your guys?
These guys can play. They're fast. They're the Blitzburg Steelers for a reason. They get after it. They still got a high-priced guy on the other side of the ball who still is pretty damn good. So
talking about Hayward?
Oh, yeah. Well, him and yeah, exactly. So
Hayward's the gray beard, but TJ still he still looks young to me.
When you turn on the tape, it's like, you got to be kidding me. Look at these guys. But they're still doing an outstanding job. And it's actually, just as a fan of football, it's fun watching them play until you have to play them.
Right. I mean, this goes back for so many years like this. When you think about, you close your eyes, you can see what a Steeler looks like.
Oh, yeah.
You close your eyes, a Raven.
Oh, yeah.
And one day, we're going to say the same here, right? You close your eyes, you know what a Bear.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're just starting, right?
Exactly, and that's it. I like how you put that because I played against some of those great Pittsburgh Steelers teams.
It's like a conveyor belt.
Oh man,
they can spot them.
Yeah, they just roll them in and roll them out, but that's where we would like to get to. Where we're getting guys in and just building a nice tradition and the foundation and continue growing from there.
Tom, a great conversation with a guy that likes to chuckle, but he likes to be serious in the room and on the field, Tommy.
I took the same from that. He may giggle, but he's never satisfied. He's a coach that he knows that he has to have his players ready. He's all football, and there's no finished product. So this dude is old school. As a player, if you knew him back then, or as a football coach, he brings that element of expectations to his players that they know how they're going to be coached when the season starts.
All right, here's some more math for you, Tommy. So the Bears' run-pass ratio this year, their 8th highest run percentage, 46.5. Number 25 passing at 53.5. that's close to being a 50-50, but, a heavier run attack, which we expected from Ben Johnson. Are you pleased with that ratio?
I am, but since we've gotten to know Ben better week in and week out, I only expect out of him what the opponent offers. I'm never thinking, Ben Johnson, he's going to go throughout his career and he's going to be a 60-40 or whatever. No, he's going to be what the team offers him. And even last week after the game, I asked him about the numbers and he really wasn't sure about it. So he had to look onto a sheet and kind of, reaffirmed what he called. And I just think that however the game is going, that's the way Ben is going.
Two important numbers for me anyway. First down rushing, which Tom Thayer has always told me you got to have it. 5.36 a carry. That's fifth best in the NFL and number one in 10-plus yard runs, the big runs, explosive runs at 46. Coming up next, Dennis Allen with a look at the Steelers. It's coming up on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Bears Weekly is back, and so are Tom Thayer and Jeff Joniak on ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy. Dennis Allen dealing with the unknown again at the quarterback position a time or two this season. I'm sure many times throughout his career, but maybe a reacquaintance with Aaron Rodgers, who did practice on a limited basis today with a brace on his left wrist. We'll see if he actually plays or if it's Mason Rudolph. But overall, the defense will be aiming at taking the ball away, something Aaron Rodgers has not done a lot of in his career. But both teams like to take the ball away. And right now, Allen has three top interceptors, 1, 2, 3 in the league. Kevin Byard, Nashawn Wright, and Tremaine Edmonds.
It's a good thing. Our guys, I think, have done a really good job of taking advantage of their opportunities. When their opportunities present themselves, they've been making the play. And so, and I've been saying this all along. I think it's a testament to our assistant coaches in terms of getting these guys prepared and understanding where these opportunities are going to present themselves. It's a testament to our players and in terms of their study habits and watching the tape and understanding how the offense is trying to attack us. And so. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and I think Ben made mention of, on the one interception, I think it was KB's interception last week, there was some pressure that ended up getting to McCarthy, which, I think hurried the throw or created an ill-advised throw or whatever the case may be. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, and, our guys are preparing the right way, and they're taking advantage of their opportunities.
What do you remember about the 2021 game against Rodgers? It was in Jacksonville, I think, right? Because of the storm.
Well, I remember we spent a month in Dallas. Our guys came out and played well. We were able to get a little pressure on him. And so I think that's the key when you play Aaron Rodgers. Look, he's a hell of a quarterback, veteran player. He's seen it all. It's hard to fool him. You have to be able to affect him, in the pocket.
When you prepare for the Steelers, how much of it is preparing for Rodgers versus Arthur's offense?
Well, it's a little bit of all of it. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of all of it. There's a little uncertainty in terms of, what his availability is going to be. So, you're studying, in particular, you're studying the scheme, and then you're preparing for the scheme, and yet you understand how each quarterback, likes to operate. There's plenty of tape on Mason Rudolph. And obviously plenty of tape on, Aaron too. So, we've spent a lot of time on it.
With DK Metcalf, do you see differences in how he's used in Pittsburgh's offense versus all those years with Seattle?
Look, I mean, I hadn't spent a ton of time going back to see, what Seattle was doing with him. I know we played him a couple years ago in New Orleans. I see the same type of receiver. I see a big, physical receiver. I see a guy that's really good in contested catch situations. I see a guy that is really good in catch and run type situations. He's a tough tackle. So we have to be able to manage that physicality that he plays with. I think that's one of the biggest factors that he has.
Dennis Allen is going to be creative, Tom, and when asked about, the return potentially of Kyler Gordon, if he'll get down the field, give me as many good football players as you can. I'll find a way for him.
I'm ready, willing, and able to use every one of those guys, especially if you have an injury hiccup from the linebacker position and you have guys that are deployable in multiple levels. It doesn't mean that just because Kyler Gordon is listed as a nickel, that's all he can play. He could go in there and he could play a version of a linebacker that moves from in and out of the box. So Dennis is creative. And, one of the things he said is take advantage of the opportunities that we create. And when you talk about those interceptors, I think that's been a big part of his defense this year, and they've created opportunities, and they've taken advantage of them.
To offensive coordinator Declan Doyle now praising the Pittsburgh Steelers 3-4 front.
TJ Watt is slippery. He plays with high effort. They have elite get-off, both edge players. They're really good, and he gets the football out. That's really the biggest thing about their defense is the takeaways that show up. But he's a guy that you have to account for in every snap. We've gone against these guys a few different times, and that's always been a kind of a key to their defense is the edge players and the get-off.
Ben talked about Declan. Ben mentioned yesterday the importance of understanding depth of pocket this week. What's unique about what the Steelers do that makes that an extra focal point in terms of, obviously it's a focal point every week, but with this particular group?
The speed off the edge is the biggest thing. So a lot of times you'll get teams or rushers that are bull rush players that are just trying to crush the pocket. These guys have great get off, and the biggest thing is, they're rushing your edges. They can get to the top of that pocket pretty quickly. And so you got to make sure that if the quarterback continues to lose depth, you start to put the tackles in a challenging position where they don't know where the quarterback is. They're always trying to put themselves between the rusher and the ball. And so the deeper you get, the harder that becomes on those tackles.
What's the biggest responsibility for Caleb in that regard of being cognizant of that?
To make sure that he's at the depth, given the play, the depth that is required for that concept.
Is that difficult, though, given the success he's had at kind of getting out of there, especially if he goes too deep?
No, because those are principled things like within every play. Like it doesn't change from this week to when we started training camp. And so, on a given concept, we're going to expect him at a certain yardage. And if he's beyond that, he needs to be stepping up into that pocket. And that's why the interior portion of the protection is really important as well, to be able to establish an area that he can step into and still keep his eyes down the field.
You said the expectations being met. When you're starting from scratch, how long does that take for it to not be an aspirational thing, but just something that gets done?
Yeah, I think the first thing is it starts with language. I think Ben did an unbelievable job of that when he came in, to be very clear about the vision of what he wanted, and then also to back that up with visual evidence of this is what that looks like, whether that's that's how we play or that's the concepts we're using. But you're trying to show everybody to kind of get them on board, and then you start to implement that in practice. You start to implement those. The fundamentals, the ideas of what we're trying to get done. And then once guys feel like they're having success at that, you start to feel the buy-in from the rest of the group. And so it's kind of a long process, and yet I think our guys have done a great job of really buying into it, and you're starting to see it flash. We still want to see it more consistently happening from down to down.
Well, this is more of a 10-game question than a last week question, but what have you learned about Ben as a late game, close game overseer of things and calling plays?
Ben has extreme confidence in what he's doing. He's very comfortable in big moments. I know that Caleb has been talked about that way. Ben is that way. Ben prepares for those moments, and because of that, once we get there, it's not really like we're not confident in that moment. He very much knows what he wants. How he sees things going. He's very clear at communicating that. If things change on the fly, he does a great job of communicating that to the staff and the players. And I think that's what is a separator in those big moments. I mean, a lot of these games are won in the last 2 minutes, and it's a huge advantage with him on our side.
Tom, they are a really physical group. They do evade blocks, everything he said, and getting Caleb ready for Sunday with less thinking and more reacting, that is going to be an every week thing. And his statement that we haven't done anything yet is resonating because, it feels like they have because we haven't been used to this in a while, but they really have to look at it that way, Tom.
Yeah, I will stick to it that I think that Caleb is in the infancy stages of how he's going to master this offense in the big picture. And the big picture may be a couple years, and then you can continue to grow this offense. One thing I really like what Declan said is making sure that you're concentrating on the depth of the pocket. And that makes sure that you don't give the advantages to the edge rushers and you don't put too much strain on your tackles. And I really like that phrase that he used because I think it's super meaningful when you play a team like the defense of Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep, they are very experienced in a system that is able to pressure from the outside and force turnovers, especially the strip sack. Coming up next in our final segment, we got Richard Hightower and Tom's thoughts. It's all coming up next on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly, a Chicago Bears production on the flagship home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
Weekly brought to you by Athletical Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. With Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Before we get to Tom's thoughts, Richard Hightower on the special teams and how they are reacting and what they're facing against the Steelers.
We got a huge challenge going. Those AFC North teams, in terms of special teams, they all play outside. They all got good players. The special teams coach over there, Danny Smith, is a coach that trained me. I was lucky I had two 30-year veterans that I started with. Joe Marciano, all right, and then Danny Smith. And he's been doing it 31 years, 13 years at Pittsburgh. That's where my focus is, to help my guys this week, because we're going to have to be ready to rock and roll this week, all right, if we want anything to happen this week like it did last week. And I'm just happy for our players, but we've turned the page. And we worried about the Steelers. That's the only thing we can worry about, is going 1-0 this week.
It's going to get more and more challenging as the year goes on because every mistake gets amplified when we're trying to get to the playoffs, Tom. And every success is as well.
Well, outdoor conditions are unpredictable on game day, and then when you play against a special team coach like they have at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who has decades of experiences, you don't know if he's going to go pull something out of his playbook that he ran 20 years ago. And that's the thing about special teams, man. They're so unpredictable. And it's a performance-based, and if you want to talk about something that's week to week, it's special teams.
All right, Tom, this is my favorite part of the show. Tom's Takes, he's now calling it. Have you shifted? Tom's Takes or Tom's Thoughts?
You called it.
I always call it Tom's Thoughts, but Tom's Takes. This is the era of having a take, so maybe we stick with takes. I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna stew on that a little bit, because you know what? You're an idea man, and that's why you have these. All right. Misdirection money.
I think I'm watching tape of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're super aggressive at the snap of the ball. And you have a young linebacker in Peyton Wilson. He runs well, but he's impressionable. And I think the creativeness of Ben Johnson in this offense and the way the offensive line's coming off the ball at home, they can be selling the play where it could be going in a completely opposite direction. So I think one of the things that you can do to this defense is you can misdirection them 2 steps out of position to create an opening for a pass or an opening for a running lane. So I think that the Bears at home, in control of the cadence, they can be misdirection money.
One addition to that, how do you get those edges? They come off the ball so fast. They're trying to, as we just alluded to before, get that depth of pocket to an area where they can go meet at the quarterback. How do you make them pay for that kind of aggressiveness?
Well, you can escort them upfield and let them get as far out upfield as you want them to be, as long as they're not able to turn the corner and pressure the quarterback. So sometimes they can be part of creating the hole for a misdirection or a passing lane for the misdirection.
All right, number 2 on his list. This movie, this PG rated, you want to go to R rated, which would equal win? What are you talking about? Getting nasty?
Okay. No. So I want early passing game. That's our PG.
Early passing game.
And then later in the game, I want the running game to close the movie out. You have a good passing attack early in the game, and you're getting yards, and it's relating to red zone, and it's relating to scores. And then like last week's last drive after that big return by Duvernay, they ran the ball to get in position to kick that field goal. So I do think just because they have a reputation of outdoor or outside edge rushers, you don't want to ignore the passing game, which I don't think Ben ever would. But give me passes early, then that will equate to the run, and then that's going to equal a win.
And that equals fade to black, right into your movie script, Tommy. And then the last one, enjoy the 80s.
What are you thinking about
I have no idea, Tom.
Okay, in the 80s, Jeff, we're going to have 6 premier tight ends. And when you look at the 3 for the Steelers, they're all in the 80s, and you look at the 3 for the Bears. You look at what the Bears tight ends meant to this offensive performance last week. Fullback, H-back, point of attack tight end, a slot receiver tight end. They had so multiple responsibilities, it really affects the entire offense. Then you go look at the Steelers tight ends. You got 6'7", 360. You got an undersized tight end in Jonnu. You have a normal sized tight end in Freiermuth. But they are on the line of scrimmage every single time. And they have as much of a factor in their offense that the Bears tight ends do. So I think when you're looking at the 80s, that's 6 tight ends in the 80s that when you look at that stat sheet at the end of the game, whose 80s did better.
Right. And Darnell Washington, I know this is a faux pas, but not too far away. You said 360. He is listed.
360. Oh, sorry. 260.
However, newsflash. He did a story in Pittsburgh. The story was done on, he did a podcast, and he leveled with some former NFL players on a podcast. He said, I'm not 260. I'm 311.
Wow.
I mean, what?
I guess we're rounding up from that.
311. So,
my God.
Numbers.
He's
dangerous.
enormous.
Yes.
Because you put that 311 frame on 6'7", he's basically a tackle that doesn't have to report. But when you look at the totality of the tight ends in this game, they can play an enormous role.
Players in the 80s and maybe some plays of the 90s. Which is right up the alley, right? Tell everybody what the play of the 90s is.
The bootleg.
The bootleg, baby. All right, that's going to wrap us up. The executive producer of the Bears Radio Network, Eric Ostrowski. Thanks to everybody, including in studio tonight, Kendra Smith. That's Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak, and this is your radio home of the Chicago Bears, ESPN Chicago. ESPN's Amber and Ian are next.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the Mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon and Apple Podcasts. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Miller Lite.